Would you like to learn 5 extremely common cloud computing myths and misconceptions? If so, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects, and we're an organization that's dedicated towards building high-performance cloud computing and networking careers. Personally, I've been working in technology for over 25 years now, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And that's why we make these videos, to help you. In today's video, we're going to talk about some cloud computing myths and misconceptions. And if you're a cloud architect or a solutions architect or an enterprise architect, you really need to know these things. And if you're a customer who's considering cloud computing, this is also essential information for you. The first myth, and I see this being propagated everywhere, is that the cloud is cheaper. The cloud may be cheaper than a traditional network and data center, but not always. See, what's going on is in the network and the data center, we're dealing with predominantly capital expenses. We've got lots of routers to buy, lots of switches to buy, physical real estate to buy, big ACs to buy, big servers to buy, big storage to buy. But we buy it, and we buy it once, and we keep it for a couple of years. When we move to the cloud, we rent everything. So that capital expense becomes much more operational expenses. We're renting the network, we're renting the virtualized data center, we're renting everything. And depending upon the way an organization uses technology, that can be a lot cheaper or much more expensive. See, the cloud offers us agility, which is amazing. Look at it this way. I want to set up a server. In the data center, I call Dell or Lenovo or someone and I order a server. A couple weeks later, it arrives. I then rack it into a rack, screw it in, cable it up, install an operating system on my apps, or install a hypervisor like VMware ESXi, and then the apps. But we're able to take that process from 6 weeks to seconds on the cloud. Agility. Also on the cloud, why in certain cases it can be cheaper, is traditionally, let's say we've got an e-commerce site. We build for Christmas, the busiest time of the year. So we may have systems that idle at basically 0 or 5% all year long and then get busy during Christmas. On the cloud, we can right size what we buy, meaning purchase exactly what we need, which is great. Meaning we can purchase what we need on average and then scale up or out or add capacity as needed for Christmas, for example. So we buy what we need and only what we need, which again could be cheaper. But look at the way you pay for services on the cloud. On the cloud, you pay per use. Off the cloud, you pay to acquire them. So if you build a 100 gig network in your own environment in the data center, you pay for the 100 gig network connection, at least in the US. If you want a 100 gig connection to the cloud, you pay for the 100 gig connection, plus you pay a daily fee to have the connection, and then you pay to use the connection. Now, in my mind, it's not cheaper. That's 3 ways it can be more expensive. So as the cloud architect, as the solution architect, it's up for you to do a business case, to look at what is the best thing for your customer. And you know what? It's going to be, in most cases, a combination between the cloud, the data center, and you can always do what's in your best customer's interest, but take all of these factors. Shifting from CapEx to OpEx could be a good thing. It could be a really horrible thing. And it's up to you, the architect, who's a half business executive and half technology professional, to go figure it out. So the cloud could be cheaper, it may not be cheaper, but just don't assume it is. Do the calculations and you will do right by your customers. The next one is the cloud is green. I ask every student when they come to me, why do you work on a cloud? Why would you desire to be a cloud architect? And a lot of them say, because it's green. And I say, tell me how the cloud's green. And they say, the company doesn't buy any more servers. And I say, great. Who buys the servers instead? And they say, I don't know. I say, the cloud provider buys those same servers. So if you need 100,000 servers in your data center and you go to the cloud provider will have to buy those same 100,000 servers. So I don't see how that's greener. Now, in certain cases, there's cloud providers that have their own solar power, and if the case, that is green. But remember the laws of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just merely transformed. So if you're not in your data center, but it's running in somebody else's data center, there's no green benefit. It's the same number of servers, just somewhere else. Now, there is a touch of truth to this, very small, in that the cloud providers and basically service providers in general basically oversubscribe. In that the service providers can assume that not everybody is going to use their servers at full capacity or the network at full capacity. So basically speaking, the service provider will build less capacity than their total number of customers and assume the customers aren't using it all at the same time. So there's a little bit of green there. But for the most part, remember, anything that was in your data center must be purchased by the cloud provider. And therefore, it's the same amount of energy used. It's just where the energy is located, your data center versus theirs. Now let's talk about the next myth. The concept of all I need is a single cloud. I just outsource it and it's all done automatically. Well, very common myth. But let's talk about the actual facts. If you have one car and it breaks down, you're in trouble. If you have one tire on a car and it breaks, you're in trouble because you've got nothing that's going to roll at all. Now, granted, this way you have 4 tires and a spare. You always have a spare. If you were to build your network on a single service provider and that single service provider went down, you'd be down. No one builds a network across just a single service provider. Everyone designs a network across multiple service providers because everybody has outages. And if, for example, you built your network with AT&T and Verizon, 2 exceptionally good service providers, and if you are only on AT&T and AT&T had an outage, you are down. And if you are only on Verizon and they had an outage, you are down. Instead, organizations build their networks across 2 providers or 3 providers. And that way, they know that any outage happens anywhere, anytime. Look, you saw it last week. Facebook had a massive outage. Why did Facebook have an outage? Because of a misconfiguration of BGP, one of the routing protocols. This happens all the time across cloud providers. There's going to be DDoS attacks, there's going to be hacking, and there's going to be service providers that make mistakes. So protect yourself. You can't do a single cloud. You must use multiple clouds. You wouldn't do it in the network, you wouldn't have the single data center, and you shouldn't have a single cloud. So as a cloud architect, realize you're going to have a hybrid cloud solution, meaning a hybrid cloud, meaning a private cloud has a public cloud, or multiple public clouds. High availability means no single points of failure. Single cloud provider is a single point of failure. When we come to high availability, we deal with the military adage. 1 is 1, 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is greater than 2. So always have more than 1, and you will be high availability. The next, the cloud is inherently secure. There are so many people that think they can just go to the cloud and security doesn't matter anymore because the cloud is secure. Note, the cloud is just like any other network or data center. In fact, it is just a network and a data center. And what you access is just a virtualized version of that network and data center. But the cloud is less secure. People are going to hate me for saying this. The cloud is less secure. If you are a hacker, who are you going to hack? One business or every business? If you hack the cloud because the cloud's such a high value target, you hack everybody because everybody's on the cloud. If you hack a single business, you hack a single business. So where are hackers going to put their time, their effort, their money, and their computing power? To hack the cloud. And they do it all the time. So the cloud, by nature of being a high value target, is going to be inherently less secure. Plus, in the data center, you can use hardware security appliances. If you want to hire a bunch of Navy SEALs that are armed to protect your data center for security, you can. If you want to have layer 2 security, 802.1x MAC address on authentication, for example, you can. If you want to use QoS in case a worm or a virus gets on your systems and you want to deprioritize it on your own systems, you can. You can't do any of this cool security on the cloud. And on the cloud, you can't walk up to the cloud provider with your firewall and rack it there, your hardware device. So on the cloud, you're going to have to use virtualized security appliances that are going to run on virtual machines. And you're going to have to do a little bit of chaos and a little bit of engineering to make it work. Whether you're using network load balancers or gateway load balancers to your firewalls, there's a lot of workarounds to the inherent things of the cloud. So the cloud is just as secure, or can be just as secure, if all things were equal. But the cloud is a high value target. If I was a hacker, I would focus much more on hacking the cloud than I would on any single customer, because if I get into that cloud, I get into everybody's. So make sure that you design an end-to-end solution. Don't think you can get away with less security on the cloud. You can't. You need more security in the cloud than you did in the data center because you have less control. Do this and your systems will be secure. Again, the cloud is amazing and it's truly transformational. We just want you to know the right way to do things. Now, the last part of this, again, is another myth. Organizations think, guess what? I found a cloud architect. I'm going to take everything to the cloud. Well, again, this is one of those things that doesn't make sense. Let's think about it architecturally speaking. What goes to the cloud and where does the cloud really shine? The cloud really shines where you've got auto scaling, basically web applications that are kind of grow on demand. The cloud is amazing here. The cloud is really great when you've got to connect to a lot of partner organizations that are already on the cloud, because you don't even need to build a network that way. It's so easy. The cloud is amazing, but the cloud is different. In the data center, you can get much greater disk performance. You can easily get 5 million IOPS with an NVMe RAID array in a physical server in your data center. You can't get anything like that on the cloud. And that's okay, because how often do you really need 5 million IOPS? Not very often. Also, let's assume you start moving to the cloud to get the advantages, the scalability of the cloud, really great things. Does that mean you should take your legacy applications that are working perfectly on your servers that are 100% paid for and move them to the cloud? No, that doesn't make sense. What's the cost to run your applications on fully paid for servers? Not a lot. Electricity. What's the cost to move them to the cloud? A whole lot. And then you have to pay for every minute or every second, depending upon how you're billed on the cloud provider. So it's about doing the right things. What problems are you trying to solve? What are those business problems, and what are the technologies that are best? Sometimes it's the network, sometimes it's the data center. But guess what? You're a cloud architect or a solution architect. You don't have to choose. Keep what's in the network, what's supposed to be in the network. Keep what's in the data center, what's supposed to be. Offload things to the cloud, refactor things for the cloud, leverage the cloud for what it is. The cloud is an incredibly scalable, highly agile, virtualized network in the data center that can truly transform business with speed and agility. So if you're an architect, go be an architect and go help those organizations succeed. Just know that some of these things are very true and some of these things are not true. And here's the key. When you're an architect, you will have the wisdom and the judgment and the know-how to do so. But just don't read in a book that says the cloud is cheaper and assume it is. Just don't think you can get away with a single cloud, because you couldn't get away with it before and you still can't get away with it. Don't think that you don't need security. Take all the architectural principles that go into good network design and good data center design, apply them to the cloud, which is just a network and a data center that's been virtualized, and you will be successful. Your cloud migrations will be successful, and your customers will achieve great things, which will make your customers satisfied and build your cloud architect brand and boost your cloud architect career. We've covered 5 of the most common cloud computing myths and misconceptions. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects. We're here to help you in every way build your cloud computing career. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. It was so nice having you join us for this video today. Let me tell you about some free services we do for the cloud community. Twice per week, we have a free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, where we tell you all the things you need to do and know to get your first cloud architect job. In addition to that, once per week, we actually have a free question and answer session live on YouTube, where you can come and ask us any questions you want about building your career related to cloud computing or networking, and we'll answer them in real time for you, because we want to get you to your goals. Several more times per week, we have guests from industry experts that I've known for decades that are movers and shakers that have changed the world, that can give you information so you can build the best career. I invite them periodically. They are on my show. If there's a chance to do some free training on our channel, we'll do it live, because we want you to all to have the best skills for the best career. So please subscribe and hit the bell. I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to assisting you in your technology career. Thank you so much. This is Michael Gibbs from Go Cloud Architects.